Okay, welcome back. So this is part three of my technology portfolio. And I want to begin by just discussing a few ways that I could use this infographic kind of activity to assign my students to help them with the content materials in the classroom. So instead of just presenting boring lectures to my students, I could use a tool like Piktochart to to show the visual associations of important terms and concepts. So students could find images or videos to relate to what we're talking about. We could do vocabulary this way. We could answer questions about a text this way, and they could find something that represents how they want to answer it. That would really be also a wonderful way to help English language learners in the classroom if they're having trouble expressing it, because that's the last part of language development to happen, is to actually be able to express a second language. But they might know what we're talking about, so they could still show that they know the content. They just might not be able to vocalize it, so they could show it through images on a program like this. I could also use it for homework assignments to have students summarize, a plot visually, or they could annotate the main ideas of the plot visually. They could just show the sequence, so it would be a sequential structure. Another thing that I thought they could do is they could compare specific elements of two texts or two authors by visually representing the comparisons and contrasts on an infograph. So I don't believe I have any contrasts on this, but it would basically be a situation where they could separate it by a point, a step-by-step point, and then show on one side for one text, one side for the other, and they could label that, compare, contrast. And honestly, this would be an awesome way for them to brainstorm for a paper. They could take their infographic of a compare and contrast scenario, and I could give them a graphic organizer to follow and set this up, and then they could take this information they used on the infographic and they could put that into a paper. They could transfer it. So this tool doesn't just have to be the final product, it could also be used to brainstorm. All right, so those are some of my ideas to use this in the classroom. The next tool that we're going to look at is called Nearpod, and it's an interactive tool that allows teachers to design presentations and give assessments at the same time. Some of the benefits, first of all, it's a free tool. I'm sure there's an upgrade possibility. There's always an upgrade possibility, but for all intents and purposes, this is free. And teachers can either download something they already have and put it in here. I did that let's see here, I can show you. Here's my library. It's very small right now, but it will grow because I really am enjoying this tool. So I took this PowerPoint presentation that I had made and I stuck it in here. But what was really cool, I did this during residency, I could add little assessments in here. So this is an open-ended question that students could fill in on their iPads or a computer. I think we could also even do this from our phones, but the idea would be best on an iPad. And then I would get all this feedback, just like I talked about in the Socrative assessment. I could actually get all of the feedback that the students input. So if they pick what are the three rhetorical devices did Lincoln use, and they answer the questions right, I get that feedback to tell me that they did it right or not, or they got the correct answers, which will give me insight as to what we need to work on. So this was a PowerPoint that I inserted, but recently I made this Nearpod activity for my methods course, and this is about speech making. So initially, just to have, instead of a journal entry, I'm having them do their anticipatory set here, where they're going to answer this when they first come into class, and then we're going to just start talking about things. We'll go into the objectives, and I'll give them time to think. They'll share with a partner. Then we're going to watch, this will take us to an online link to a YouTube video. That's Martin Luther King Jr. in the background. This will take us right there. That's a really cool feature of Nearpod. It will actually just take us right to the YouTube site. We're not going to do that right now, but these are just little things I inserted. Here's another video to teach the kids. I have visuals so they can think pair. And this also will keep me on track with what we're doing. I mean, I will know what's coming up next. I'm the one that has the power to move these slides along. So the kids won't see it until I want them to see it, which is a nice perk to the tool. And then I have images, I have videos, I can come up, I wrote these really quickly on the Nearpod itself. I created all these on Nearpod. I was able to put a background, I was able to put a question, add tools right from, I mean, just there's so many things you can do with this. You can have polls where here's a good example. I'm still unsure about how to follow the following in speech making. So then the kids, they check what they're having problems with, and they submit that, and I get a copy of that. Print it out. I can print it out. It's right there. I know exactly who's having problems with what because they took a poll on it. And then, for instance, this presentation has an exit slip right here. I'm going to have them fill this out, and then I will get all of these responses directly to me. So just to recap some of the benefits, you can either download something you already have, or you can create a presentation from scratch right from Nearpod. You can add all kinds of assessments into the presentation, open-ended questions. I think there's a drawing option you can use to have students draw something, which is another, we've discussed that with vocabulary, especially in an English language arts class, just to have them be able to create their own little visual. There's polls that they can take, exit questions you can get in there. There's all kinds of wonderful ways to make the presentation interactive, engaging, and they can do this in groups with pairs. This doesn't have to be always individual. I again have control of what they see, and the huge benefit with Nearpod is the feedback that it collects and gives me in the end that I can simply print out. So in short, I love the fact that while students are learning the material, they're also being assessed frequently on whether they got that or not, what we just discussed. And I can quickly link in things like videos and images. All in all, it's just a really convenient, easy tool to use, and I see myself using this a lot in the classroom. The next tool that we talked about was EDU Creations, or EDU Creations, I guess if you want to say it that way. But unfortunately, I don't have my saved project from residency, but I will tell you a little bit about it. It's kind of like having a whiteboard at your fingertips, but one of the benefits is that you can record your voice, or students can record their voices, and you can also write on the iPad screens, which is a nice kinesthetic touch for our kinesthetic learners in the classroom. You can insert images. It's a quick way to make a presentations, but what I think I love the most about this is that students can create their own presentations quickly. And I'll see if there's any examples here. That would be really neat for you to see on here. Okay, so lucky me, I did find a way to save what I made at residency on my EDU Creations account. So this is kind of what it looks like. It wasn't the best creation I've made, but it's a representative. I have images.
What Does It Mean to You by Rebecca Taylor. For this project, we will be looking at a few simple Tier 2 words.
So I have, let's see here, images.
The flower, leaves, and petals.
And I was able to put up in the corner, for instance, on this one, texture, and I'm the content right now is not necessarily important, but I just want you to see that I have images, I have words. I could have actually drawn this word with my fingers on the iPad. I'm not the best drawer, so I chose not to, but that some kids will love that. This was my favorite one. I did lines, and instead of thinking artistically, I did dramatic lines from a dramatic standpoint or a performance standpoint. So visually representing a concept or a vocabulary term could be very powerful for students to have these visuals and then essentially them doing it themselves.
Different aspect of describing what line.
So that's another, obviously you heard my nice voice doing that, but you can have them record their voice again, which gets their speaking skills, gives them practice in speaking skills. So this was a little project that can be quickly done in the classroom. And I like the idea of using this in a flipped classroom setting where students could watch a presentation I put together before class, homework, and then we could talk about it the next day and move on from there and be more interactive in the actual setting. But ultimately, students can make digital stories from this. They can put together concepts. And yet again, this is great for English language learners without necessarily the narration tool, even though they could use that with, 2-word sentences, but it gives them a chance to explore something visually and show what they know. Now, something I also think is important, though, to mention about this is, while I would use it for a flipped classroom idea, I think what I really like about it, again, is that students can do this quickly in the classroom on their own. If I am blessed to be in a district that has technology, like, for instance, enough iPads for the classroom, this would be a great tool to use to have them compile something that wouldn't take a whole lot of time. Okay, moving on. So this is the tool of using QR codes in the classroom, and that's QR is short for quick response. They're a 2D barcode, and they can provide easy access to information when you're using your smartphone apps. And incidentally, I thought that it was interesting that the barcode is read left to right and top to bottom. So creating a QR code is fairly simple, and it can be done for free, which is important for teachers. First, you have to locate a QR code generator, and you can simply search on the internet for a free one. And then after you find that, when you open it up, you enter the URL of the information that you want to link to the QR code. So essentially, your QR code is going to take whoever's scanning it to the information you want them to view. And the information that you could link is endless. It could be images, it could be a website, it could be a video. There's tons of ways you can use this just to link information. And I will attempt to show you here on mine. I'm not going to show you all of them, but let's just say we're going to go to the infograph one. So you can't see me using my phone, but I have my generator up on my iPhone, which students would have to download the tool. And then it would take them, now obviously you can't see this unless I pull up the webcam, which I haven't done, but it can take you right to what you want to view. So let's see. Okay, so yes, so all you're going to do is have your students download an app, a QR reader app, and they can scan these codes that you make very easily to pull up information, and that can be fun. And on the next video, I will explain to you a couple cool ways you can probably use this in your own classroom and ideas that I'm going to use in my future ELA class.